Ah, fairy tales. Those whimsical stories that seem to light up the imagination of every child. But what if I told you that beneath the surface, these tales are just about as cheery as a cat in a bath? Let's start with Cinderella, a girl living in a house where her own family treats her worse than most people treat their houseplants. But wait, let's add a little nihilist twist to it. Imagine old Friedrich Nietzsche was the fairy godmother. Instead of turning pumpkins into carriages, he'd probably hand Cinderella a mirror and say, "Look into the abyss." And it looks back at you, darling. Now, go find your own meaning. Cinderella's glass slipper? Perhaps just another cruel joke by the universe, or a metaphor for the fragile and illusory nature of happiness. Oh, joy! Next up, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. In this tale, a young girl runs away from home and ends up living with 7 men who are vertically challenged. Cheers, Brothers Grimm. But to a nihilist, Snow White's story is more than just a bad roommate situation. The magic mirror's constant validation seeking from a wicked stepmother is just the human quest for meaning in a meaningless world. And the poisoned apple? A delightful little reminder from Arthur Schopenhauer that life's pleasures are just baited traps laid by the indifferent universe. Charming, isn't it? Finally, there's Little Red Riding Hood, a story where a young girl, because red is clearly the most inconspicuous colour, walks through a forest filled with dangers. But let's look at it through the eyes of Albert Camus, the wolf. He's not just a predator, he's the absurdity lurking behind every tree, ready to remind us that life is a series of unpredictable events with no inherent purpose. And Grandma's house, the futile destination we all march towards naively thinking it'll be a sanctuary. Spoiler alert, it's not. So there you have it, Cinderella, Snow White and Little Red Riding Hood, through the eyes of a nihilist. It's amazing how these stories can go from bedtime tales to existential horror shows with just a little sprinkle of philosophical despair. Just remember, in the grand cosmic scheme of things, whether you're a prince, a dwarf or a wolf, it all ends up the same. For your daily dose of pointless despair, follow Carpe Meow.